Y'all, today I have to tackle it. Hey everybody, and if you are new, welcome to Autumn Leigh at Home. I'm Autumn Leigh. Today we are going to try to tackle my pantry, and I'm highly embarrassed to be showing this to you guys, but here we go. If I'm being completely honest, I was really dreading this. I'm embarrassed to share this with you guys, but at the same time, it's just such a daunting task that I really didn't even know where to begin. So I'm gonna start with buying the shelves to be able to organize. These shelves came from Sam's, and these are shelves that I've been eyeing for a while. I know back in one of my other Sam's haul, I did try to get these a different time. It actually worked out better that I wasn't able to get them back then because I needed some extra help from my hubby to lift these. They are very heavy. So I was very grateful that he came along and helped me get them into the car and onto the buggy and all of that and into the house. So I'm thankful that he was able to help me. I have also said in another video that I think it was the Frugal Living Tips video that I don't buy a lot of organizational products unless I'm frugal about it and I'm very thoughtful about it. And this is one of those things that I have been wanting to get for a while. We really needed it. I was tired of finding our bulk items on the floor, and now I'll have somewhere to put them. I can't get into the box. Once I finally figured out how the box opened, it really wasn't that hard to get into the box. I think I just kept trying on the wrong corners, but I finally got into the box, and I have put these shelves together before when I bought my first pair or set of shelves that were this exact same thing, but they had made a couple of adjustments to the shelves to make it a little easier to put it together. They don't require you to twist in the connector pieces yourself, only the poles to the connector piece that is already there, which I know probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but they made it a little bit easier to put these together. So this went a little more smoothly than the last time I did this. It does take some time, just like putting together anything else, and it took me a minute to kind of get my bearings and get started, but once I got started, I was able to get on a roll and kind of just keep moving and get it done. Obviously, with a 2-year-old, it can be a little challenging to get anything done, but she was fantastic during this and allowed me to put it together pretty easily and wanted to be my little helper every once in a while, but she was a champ. She did great. When you tackle a project this big, sometimes it's so hard just to know where to get started. This was the simplest place for me to get started mentally, is just knowing that I needed to put these shelves together in order to have somewhere to put the extra items that I'm trying to organize. And that was so helpful. I will say just making sure that I had the place to put the items was a big help, but I also gave myself 3 goals. The first goal is the simplest one of all, so that we can have an easy win under our belt and make me feel like I'm getting somewhere pretty quick. And that was going through the room and picking out all trash. So number 1, get rid of trash. Number 2, I wanted to try to put like things with like things. So a lot of my stuff is canning items in this particular pantry, as well as bought items, and just going through the pantry and kind of quickly gathering things that are similar. So like empty jars and putting all the empty jars together, that kind of thing, so that they're kind of organized together. So putting like things with like things. Number 3, I wanted to weed out stuff. Easily go through and quickly grab things that you know are not supposed to be in that pantry. So again, you saw that big box of toys. That is not supposed to be in there. There's no reason for that to be in there. I think I stuck it in there one day really quickly, just trying to get it out of sight, so that, because we had company coming over, and it's not supposed to be in there. So knowing that it didn't need to be in there, I needed to pull it out and go through that box separately, as well as the changing table. I don't need that anymore. That was an easy win and made it look decluttered all of a sudden, because that whole surface was empty because the changing table was gone. So being able to go through and quickly weed out things was very helpful. These 3 goals allowed me to kind of organize in my brain how I was going to tackle this project. Once I did those 3 quick, easy goals, I was able to just move forward one step at a time and try not to look at the big picture, but easily just give yourself one goal at a time. That helps you kind of move forward. The whole point of me getting these shelves is to be more organized, and I want to try to utilize my space as much as possible. One of the things I regretted when I put together the last shelves was having wasted space on the very bottom shelf. Between the floor and the bottom shelf there was a few inches, and I also a lot of headspace in between my items on each shelf. So this time when I put these together, I really wanted to put all the shelves closer together so that my jars fit without a lot of wasted space, because you're not supposed to stack jars. It's unsafe because it can cause false seals later on if you were to stack the jar. Say a jar underneath became unsealed, but because of the pressure of the jar on top of it can cause it to reseal after it had been unsealed for about a week. Say the temperature in the room changes and causes that to happen, and I don't want to do that. So I also don't want to have that wasted space above the jar if at all possible, which meant that I can utilize the ground space by measuring the distance between the ground and the top shelf or the next shelf up from the ground. I can maybe put my 5-gallon buckets underneath the shelf. And I can tell you later on, I did this and I love it. I'm so glad I did this because now there's no wasted space in between each one, and I'm utilizing all of that space. So here you can kind of see me counting out the rings and trying to figure out how to snap the little black pieces in place so that I can start assembling my shelves with having that space for my bucket. So I just grabbed a 5-gallon bucket and I'm using that to kind of quickly measure. A lot of what you will find in my pantry is bulk items, whether it's bulk that you buy from like Sam's Club or even multiples of the same item. That the best thing that I can do for my family is to try to find the best price for the best quantity. And when I do that, if I'm able to find it and I know it's something that my family will eat and consume in a decent amount of time, then my goal is to get that item for a good price. And if it's something that I feel that I can preserve to make it last even longer because it's such a good deal, then I will do that. And so you may find a lot of these items in my pantry and maybe preserved in a different way so that they will last a little bit longer. Now that I'm finally wrapping up the shelves, I didn't want to put the top shelf on until I got it in there because I didn't feel that it was necessary and it just added more weight. So I'm just going to sit these up and let these sit here while I start to tackle the pantry. Using those 3 goals, that is what I'm going to try to focus on so that it helps me kind of organize my thoughts so that we can just tackle this without thinking. My first goal is to weed out any trash. So going through and just picking out any of the easy visible trash that we can just get rid of. And that gives us a good head start. My second goal is to put light things with light things. So here you see I'm getting the bread flour bag, and I'm just going to restock this 5-gallon bucket because not only would it put light things with light things, but it also gets a 25-pound bag of flour off my floor. So that saves space, it saves floor space, and it's matching things that go together. My third goal is to weed out. So here you saw me kind of pulling out that box of toys, as well as later on you'll see me taking the baby changing table away. Those are easy things that save us a lot of room. And yes, I need to go through that box and I plan to, but right now I know it's not supposed to be in here. So I'm going to go ahead and take it out. And that way I can focus on this pantry specifically right now. Okay, so I've gotten started, and as you can see, it's not as bad as I was expecting it to be. A lot of this, I don't really plan to move a whole lot. I'm hoping I can slide the shelf over here maybe, but then I would have to move that stuff. I can't decide because the shelves that I just put together are more suited for the cans that you see right here, the jars, just because when I was building these shelves, I didn't really account down here for the 5-gallon buckets. I didn't really think about putting that shelf higher up so that I could use the ground rather than having that little bit of wasted space down there. So I'm thinking that I haven't decided if I'm going to move this over here and then put all the jars on the shelf over here, or if I'm just going to leave this one as is, which will probably end up being what happens, and then put the other shelf in here and maybe move the empty jars over just because there's some that aren't open, as well as ones, miscellaneous ones that I can regroup over here on the new shelves. So I have this wall right here, and I'm hoping if I slide this shelf all the way down to the end of the wall, then I should be able to fit the other shelf along here. I don't know if you can tell, but there's like a little wall right here that sticks out. And I'm hoping that it should be able to fit right here behind the door. If I slide this one over and then move all of these 5-gallon buckets and slide it down. So these right here are kind of more for long-term storage, that when I buy beans in bulk, I don't want them to go bad before I'm able to use them. So I try to put them in the 5-gallon bucket, food grade. And if you don't know this already, I know I've said it a couple times on my channel, but if you don't know this already, you can actually get these 5-gallon food grade buckets at Walmart if you go to the bakery section. They don't come with these gamma lids. These are lids that I bought off Amazon, but the buckets themselves do come with a normal lid that comes with the bucket. And if you go to the bakery section, it is a little well-loved, gently used. All they do is kind of rinse it out. Sometimes they don't even do that, but you're saving yourself a lot of money if you buy multiple ones, because in the bakery section, especially if you call ahead and let them know, they will save their buckets, the food grade buckets that come with the fondant and mixing supplies and all of that inside the bucket, and that you can buy them for $1 at Walmart. And that's with the lid and the bucket for $1, which is awesome. You can't really beat that price anywhere, even if you go to Sam's. So I would strongly recommend it because they're just as good as the others. You just may have to wash it out a little bit. But other than that, I think that we are on a roll. I'm trying to sweep up the mess that I made down here, all the flour and everything. So I'm gonna give it a good cleaning on the ground, and then we'll get started again. So this right here is where I used an old desk that is actually my desk from when I was in high school. And I repurposed it downstairs into like a changing table area. But now that my youngest is almost turning 3, there's no way that she fits on this anymore. We just haven't had the time to kind of clean it up and get rid of it. So no longer will this old desk be a changing table anymore. I'm gonna leave all of this right here. So we'll still need wipes and pull-ups, wipes and pull-ups and other miscellaneous hair stuff and that kind of thing for a little while. Other than that, I think this changing pad, it's time for it to go. And then I need to clean up a little bit of a mess right here and reorganize all of this. But my thoughts for this desk was to put maybe the dehydrator here as well as the air fryer. And that way I can utilize the space as an area that I don't have to constantly be taking the dehydrator and air fryer out over and over again. But I also don't want it sitting on my counter in the kitchen. So I was thinking this space would be perfect for that. Things always look worse before they look better, right? I think what I'm gonna do is move all of the empty jars that I'm planning to put on the shelf over here to the desk in hopes that that will make this a little bit lighter so I can just slide it, because I don't want to break it and I don't want to scratch my floors. But I want to go ahead and get this done. So let's see if I can do that and see if that helps, and we'll go from there. Since I've already gone this far, I think I am going to use these boxes right here that I have that are extra and put all of these jars in here and then just reorganize them and use this shelf over on this wall right here behind me. And that way I can put other items like canned goods from the store or extra syrup or different things like that that are cluttering up my other pantry. Maybe try to pull some of those and bring them in here. And that way I can utilize those shelves pretty well. And the other shelf, like I said, was more built for cans because I put the shelves closer together. On this shelf, when I first bought it, my goal again was to put cans on it. That's why I got this one, and it holds a lot of weight, which is fantastic. But I wasn't thinking about headspace, so I wasn't thinking about wasted space or anything like that. And I think when I put the shelves together, if you see, even with my larger quart-sized jars, I still have a lot of wasted space. On my next shelves, I'm thankfully not going to, and I think that it would be better use if I put this shelf on this wall right here behind me and the other one on this wall the one that's for cans and put it on this wall. So we'll see how that works out and see if I can get it all done. I think I'm, as usual, taking on more than I can chew, and more than I can handle in one day, but we will see. We will do our best and go from there and just see how far we can get today. I kept trying to convince myself that I didn't need to move the shelf and I didn't need to move all of these jars. But when it's all said and done, the whole point of doing this pantry overhaul and organizational day is to make it functional and useful and trying to get the best use out of the storage and the space that I have. And to do that, really the best option would be to move these jars. I just kept trying to convince myself that I didn't have to do those extra steps, and ultimately I did. I finally caved to the idea that I really needed to go ahead and move these items. And after the fact, I was so glad I got it done. The shelf that I'm currently moving my jars off of, my hope is to put my store-bought items on there, the non-homemade items that I typically buy extra of. So one of the things that I do in my pantry, and one of the ways that I organize in my kitchen and organize myself, is by having one open item in my smaller pantry and or the refrigerator, say it's a condiment or something like ketchup, and then typically I have one in this pantry that's unopened. Therefore, when my open item is empty, I pull that one item from my larger pantry, the extra item, and open it, and then I add it to my list of things that I know I need to get the next time I go to the store. That way I'm never running out of anything. If you haven't tried the black bean video yet to can your own black beans, I'm telling you, we have loved these. I was very surprised by this. Some of the stuff that I've canned, I haven't really cared for, like the green beans. The ground beef was okay. I like having it, but it wasn't my favorite. Black beans, however, fantastic. Okay, so I think I'm gonna try to work smarter, not harder. I'm gonna see how it works to put this under one side of the shelves, under the footing of one side of the shelves. And that way, hopefully I can get it to slide pretty easily, at least on that one side if I tilt it up just ever so slightly. We'll see how it works and go from there. I may have to get another piece, which I have, and put it under both sides and see if it will slide easier that way. It under both because it is working, but I think it could work a little easier. This is going to be the hardest part because this shelf, you can't push up and lift up on the shelves themselves because that's how they're fastened onto the beam, is that they just slide down, and kind of the more weight you put on them, the more they rest in right here. But if I were to push up, then it pops up on, I don't know if you can see it very well, but it kind of pops up right here. It will pop up. So I can't lift the shelves with using the shelf. I have to lift it using the bar or slide it. So once I get this one moved, the other one doesn't have anything on it. It's still heavy, but it should be easier to get into place. This is the trickiest one. So if I can get this one into place, then we'll be good to go. So far, so good. I did it. I'm completely out of breath, but it's in place. So much easier. I will say that second shelf was a lot easier when it didn't have anything on it. Now that the shelves are finally in place and both did perfectly fit, I could have actually probably gained a little bit of footage on each side if I had gotten bigger shelves, but that is completely fine. The reason I got these shelves in particular is because they can hold a lot of weight, which is what you want for jars, because you don't want your shelves to buckle with all the weight of the jar, which is glass, as well as whatever is filling the glass. So we definitely wanted something that could hold a lot of weight. So now that these are in place, I'm gonna go ahead and start the fun part of reorganizing and putting things back away where they're supposed to go so I can try to clean out my kitchen and living room again. At this point, I definitely feel like I'm on the downhill slide. Up until this point, I just felt super overwhelmed. So I was just trying to convince myself, do one thing at a time, using those three goals. And once I even finished those three goals, just looking at one item at a time. And then slowly it eventually comes together, one decision at a time. If you look at the whole picture, you start getting really overwhelmed really easily. And then you kind of want to give up. However, I'm really thankful to be to this point because this is kind of where it starts getting fun and I get to start organizing it, and I already have all the hard pieces in place, and I'm able to start thinking about where I want things both visually appealing as well as, most importantly, functionally. Now I gotta figure out how I want to organize it. I'm not really sure how I want to group what, because I've done a bunch of random things, and this is an active pantry where we're learning how to can things that we will actually eat. I don't want to go through all the effort of canning something that's just going to end up sitting on the shelf. So I have miscellaneous stuff, and I will say there are some items that are not our favorite. Let me see if I can find one. I think I finally used up the last of the green beans. The carrots are not my favorite, but I will say I like having them for soups and, you know, crock pot meal or anything that just is easy. And I'm able to just throw it in last minute because it's already cooked, so I don't have to recook it. So I would say that these are not my favorite just to eat, but I do like having them for the occasional soup or chicken pot pie or things like that. So I guess I will group all of my jams and jellies together, as well as like the apple butter, that kind of thing, the spreads. I'll try to put all of those on one shelf, and then we'll go from there. Ooh, these are heavy. Hopefully I will not drop this. I also want to make sure that I'm grouping the years together because I want to make sure that all the 2023 stuff is towards the front and the 2024 items are towards the back, because I want to use up the 2023 jars first just to make sure that the other ones last longer. That's just kind of good practice when it comes to canning, using up the older stuff first. One apple butter jar. If you're an OCD person, give me a thumbs up down below, because I will say, being a canner, if you're canning items, OCD is not your friend, because you end up with like a random jar of one item or random jars of different items, and you don't really know how to categorize them or organize them. So any tips and tricks of things that you do in your pantry that helps you, put them down below. I would love to hear them, as well as share them with everybody else. Alrighty, so this is what I have so far with my cans. This is all my strawberry jam that we just made. This is from last year. This is the 2 rows from this year. Peach jam that I'm still using up. It came out thicker than it typically does in years past, so I've been having a harder time getting it used up, because you can't really taste the peach as well as you were able to in the past. So I will get it used up. We will eat it, but unfortunately it may just take a little bit longer. And then we loved our apple butter. That's the only one left of that one. So it's just gonna kind of sit here in front of my 2 applesauce jars back here. Those 2 will definitely get eaten pretty quickly. So I'm just gonna kind of lump those 2 together. This is my vanilla extract that we use for cooking and baking. And then this is apple juice, and then my dried fruit. And I am leaving a lot of wiggle room over here, just because we do have canning season coming up where we can harvest things and can them, or even go to local farmers and get items that we aren't maybe growing ourselves and be able to can them. So I don't want to completely fill these 2 shelves, because it is going to expand as the summer progresses, and I want to have that wiggle room. Down here, I have my ground beef, my chicken broth that we absolutely love, the chicken broth, canned carrots, and the canned black beans that, again, I absolutely love. And I think I'm going going to put on the shelf all of the empty jars that are already open and have been used before. And that way, again, we have a designated home for the jars that we're probably going to end up using to can stuff. I have to say, this is one of those projects that was looming over my head for a long time. I had been thinking about doing this for about a year now, and all the details and the excitement of what it could look like when it was finally put together and organized and in a way that I was excited to use it and have this space rather than just a dump area that you hide things when guests come over. So I'm very excited that we finally got this project finished, and I will say it's a huge weight lifted off my shoulders. Now when I walk into the pantry, I'm excited to be in there, I'm excited to see it, and I'm happy rather than kind of closing the door and dreading going in. This also makes me excited for this upcoming canning season that I now have a space to put those items in. We are almost finished. I just need to pull a few other items from the other pantries to organize in here as well. But I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to join me today as we reorganize the pantry. Please like, subscribe, and share, and I hope to see you guys next time.